Hey there, Drew here, and welcome back to the Drew Saur coaching channel. If this is your first time here, thanks for joining us. This channel is for those of us who want to have stellar careers, but with a little less stress, and if we can, a bit more fun. My job is to bring you ideas that'll help you look at your career in a new way. I promise that if you try these out, you'll start to see the professional world differently. And more importantly, they'll start to see you differently. So this video is part of my series on execution and problem resolution, which is the last of the 6 questions that I think are critical to having a successful career. Why? Because life is unpredictable. Things come up. So the question we're trying to answer is, can I resolve the inevitable challenges that arise? And so for today's video, I want to add another question, which is simply, who's driving? So think of it in a car. Everybody is very clear about who's driving. It's the person in the driver's seat, right? What does it mean to be driving? It means you control the steering and the direction. It means you control the gas, the brakes. You're in charge of where this thing is going to go. So in the corporate context, why is it important? Because if you don't know who's driving, resolving problems and getting it executed is actually going to be very difficult. And unfortunately, in the corporate world, it actually can be very confusing to understand who's driving. Now, some companies take this very seriously. And Apple, as an example, has a concept called a directly responsible individual, a DRI, and they very much put a name against who is responsible for this thing ultimately. Okay, that's very clear. It's very helpful. You will know who is driving. Most companies, not so much. Oftentimes, there are different people doing different things. So you may have a program lead who's kind of driving, meaning they got the steering wheel, they're trying to do the direction, but budget is allocated somewhere else, which you can think of as the gas and the brakes. So somebody controls the speed, but somebody else controls the direction. Or even worse, it's a committee. Right? You have 5 people with their hand on the steering wheel, all trying to drive it in a slightly different direction, and so you kind of end up muddled in the middle. So I want you to start to ask this question of who's driving? Because what happens if you don't? Right? If you don't know who's driving, really 2 things will happen. One, when you're trying to get something resolved, it'll be very difficult to figure out who it is and where to go. But these videos are really about us and trying to get a successful career. And if you don't know who's driving, it's really what is your role? And to be really successful, you want to be driving at least a few things where people recognize what you're doing. So again, if you're not driving, if you can't figure out who's driving, is it the end of the world? No, right? Because that's actually how most of corporate America works. Things still progress. It's just not quite as fast and not quite as clear as it could be. It adds a lot more stress, a lot more confusion, which is something that we, again, from this channel's perspective, are trying to reduce. So what's the exercise? The exercise is really about us. So I want you to go through your tasks, go through the things you're doing and say, what of these am I driving? What do I think I'm driving? That's question number 1. Question number 2 is, would other people agree that I'm driving this activity? Right? And again, if you can answer yes to both those questions for a couple of major things that you think are important, you're all set, keep going. But if you're not sure, that's the goal. How do you get it where you believe and other people believe that you are driving this important thing? It's a great conversation for your manager. It's a great opportunity to reach out and look for more responsibility. But ultimately, you want to understand who's driving. And if you're senior enough in the organization, you want to start establishing this as a practice so everybody else in the organization understands who's driving major initiatives as well. As you can tell, I'm not a huge fan of management by committee. So personal preference, but if you happen to agree with me, right, try to bring more clarity to who's doing what, if you're in a position to do that. So that's the exercise. What are you driving? If it's not clear, get some. So try it out and let me know how it goes in the comments below. And remember, the idea is a little less stress and a bit more fun. This is your career, so you might as well enjoy it. If you want to see more videos like these, please like and subscribe and check out the other videos on the channel. And when you're ready to make a significant change, remember, it helps to have a partner. You can rope in a friend, or you can hire a coach. And if you'd be interested in working with me, you can go to drewsaur.com and schedule some time for us to chat. I look forward to seeing you next time.